Good morning, Mr. Floyd, and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and good morning to you.
Today is the 8th. It's a Friday. We had a few technical glitches yesterday, and so we decided, what the heck, we can just record tomorrow. And so today is tomorrow, and we are at it. And Mr. Floyd, I will say it was nice to have a Thursday off, but it's nice to be back today. So thank you thank you. And a lot has happened over the last 7 days. A lot has happened. We've been talking about this house district. We've been watching the city council get ready to do a changing of the guard. We've been um, we just been kind of watching pieces on the chessboard move around.
Very
So
much.
let's jump right into the gritty and the city and the word on the curb. Let's start with the inauguration and what we saw transpire let's back up because the inauguration was full of revelatory information based upon some of the stuff we've been talking about in terms of House District 42. So, Mr. Floyd, one of the things that we talked about, and I'll say this, we differentiate between speculation and statement of fact. And as a statement of fact, we said to our audience, Marvin Lucas redrew District 42 to include the home of Michael Colvin so that Michael Colvin could run as his predecessor for House District 42. We issued that as a statement of fact. Um, the there's been some chatter in Raleigh about whether or not that was the case. We also issued as a statement of fact that the entire delegation was made aware of this redistricting move, and we offered up in support of that statement of fact a recording from the General Assembly. Mr. Floyd, do you want me to play that recording real quick?
Yes, please play that.
Okay, let me share my screen because we like to be very clear, and we want to make sure that when we give you a statement of fact that we support it as such. And let me get to that. So we want to go into my computer, and I'm going to share this screen. Tell me when you can see it, Mr. Floyd.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and play this. It's just a couple of minutes, but this is to support the statement of fact that the delegation was aware of the change that was being proposed.
Hearing none, we will proceed. Representative Hawkins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This change in the Cumberland grouping is a six precinct change. There are no changes in splitting VTDs, no partisan leaning changes, and is within the population deviation, and all members of that delegation have been consulted about these changes.
All members of that delegation of the Cumberland County consulted about these changes. So that's a statement of fact that we issued. We also issued as a statement of fact that Marvin Lucas, who is seen here, can you see my screen, Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
That House Representative Marvin Lucas was making this change in the effort of being able to endorse Mr. Mike Colvin. Mike Colvin's home was previously not in this district. Until this change, the home that Mike Colvin lists on his voter registration card was not in Mr. Lucas's district. Mr. Lucas has denied that this was an accuracy. In fact, what he said was that he made this change because at one point during his service, this part of the district was in his district, right?
Yes.
Well, if you come down, this is an article in City View today. Again, statements of fact. This is an article in City View today. It is written by Paul Wolverton, and it was posted December 6th, 2023 at 8:52 p.m. That's just 2 days ago. It talks about Marvin Lucas leaving his position. If you go down a little ways, it talks about who Marvin Lucas is endorsing to follow him. Now, if you look, this says Lucas said he has been contemplating for 2 years when he would step down and who he would endorse to replace him. He settled on Colvin. How do you settle on somebody that's not in your district? You
You
have
don't
to either
get
move
to
the district or they have to move into your district. So he decided on Colvin. He moved the district to incorporate Mike Colvin's house into the district. He said, I've been talking with Mike and kind of watching how he maneuvered around the county. I like the young man. He's got a lot of energy and I think he can do a good job. This is Marvin Lucas's own words. I've been watching Mike Colvin. I settled on him. So when we saw him initiate the change to include the portion of the district that now include Mike Colvin's home, it is a statement of fact that Marvin Lucas shifted District 42 to include Mike Colvin's home so that Mike Colvin can run. Are we hitting facts right now, Mr. Floyd?
That is what is all published.
This is all published. These are their own words. These are not our words. We're not saying this. We are just giving you what they are saying. So, Floyd, now let's fast forward to what we saw in terms of filing. We've seen in House District 42, and we'll talk about other House districts, but this is the one that we have been watching for the longest. We've seen House District 42. Initially, when the filing period opened, the first person to file was who?
I believe that I filed. I'm not sure, but I filed on the first day, and I
Okay.
believe that Copeland may have filed earlier or after. I really don't know. I didn't ask, but I do know
I'm
I
pretty
filed
sure,
on the
Mr. Floyd, I'm pretty sure you filed. Then we saw Mike Colvin file. Then we saw Courtney Banks McLaughlin and Dr. Aziz file. So we have four candidates who have filed. It was a surprise to me when you decided to file for office. You called me the day of because I have been asking you all along. You called me the day of and you said, I just want to let you know that I'm going to go down at 4 o'clock today and file for House District 42. Was I surprised, Mr. Floyd?
You were, because I never shared it with you or
You never
anyone.
shared it with me. And I appreciate that because I like, Mitch used to say plausible deniability. He used to say that about me. I like to be able to say what I know, and I like to be able to say what I did not know. I did not know that. Congratulations, though, on filing, and congratulations to the other candidates. But Floyd, here's the thing. Let's fast forward to the inauguration of the Fayetteville City Council. You were present, right?
Yes.
First, I'd like to congratulate Kathy Keefe Jensen, aka Catherine Keefe Jensen, as she was referred to by DJ here when he made the motion for her to become Mayor Pro Tem for the second time. It was voted on the members affirmatively, and one member declined, and that member was Courtney Banks McLaughlin, who, as we have indicated, has also filed for House District 42. I said this when I saw the announcement that came out from that Courtney was going to run for House District 42. I said they're not going to give her Mayor Pro Tem now because there's no incentive for this body to give her Mayor Pro Tem when she is announcing that she's seeking a job. Why would I promote you if you're looking for a because then I'm just going to have to find somebody to take your place. So that was off the table. And in the background, Floyd, I was willing to pull some strings and make some calls and try and do what I could to help her secure pro tem until that announcement came out. Because I knew when that announcement damaged not only my credibility, but it damaged her shots for us to be still pulling for her to be pro tem. I think she would have made an excellent mayor pro tem. I think her district has been very solidly behind her as their council representative. I think this move was premature, and I wonder who was in her ear about it. And let me tell you why I say somebody was in her ear. Because it is not Courtney's style to talk her business. We know that, Floyd. Because how many times did you ask her, was she going to run for House District 42?
About 3 times.
Did she tell you?
she considered it as a rumor.
But and see, this was the thing. We knew about it. We just never
Yeah.
talked about it because we like to, if there's going to be conjecture, we like to be really solid about it once we say something. But you had already heard about it because we had been talking about it, you and I, for about a month prior to that, prior to the announcement. So that that somebody in the camp was talking about it, knew about it. Somebody was talking about it. It may not have been Courtney, and I'm most certain it wasn't her best friend because they each other's confidences. But somebody was talking about it, Floyd. And the fact that somebody was talking about it led me to believe that there was somebody else, a third party, who thought and was pushing for her to do this. I kept asking myself, who could this third party be? Who could this third party be? Now, Mr. Floyd, I'm going to be very honest with you. This is conjecture. This is speculative. I have nothing to prove this, but if it came out as true, I would not be surprised. I received word that Val Applewhite swore Courtney Banks McLaughlin in. Was that accurate? I didn't watch.
That's about 101% accurate.
Okay, so I'm speculating that Val Applewhite has something to do with this decision to run for House District 42. That's my speculation. If Val eventually endorsed her, I would not be surprised. Here's the problem. I don't know if Val knew she was going to have a competitor in this race, especially a Black female competitor, Floyd, who is running against.
I
Wait,
believe
I
that
didn't mean
she
to laugh
knew.
because I think that this is a very serious announcement, but it's funny to me because I'm familiar with who's running.
I think it's Shimon Pemberton.
Simone Pemberton. Let me tell you why
Yeah.
I'm laughing. Because when Mr. Chris, now Mr. many people probably know this, but Mr. Chris was my mentor. When I was first sworn in on the council, Mr. Chris stood on that stage and announced to the whole of Fayetteville that he was taking me under his wing and he was going to teach me the game. And he did. He did. And as a part of the appointments committee, Mr. Chris pushed for us to appoint Simone Pemberton to the Human Relations Commission. So every time I hear her name, it makes me smile because I think about Mr. Crisp. He was adamant about her qualifications and the fact that this is how he'd say it, Simone Pemberton should be on the Human Relations Commission. And she ended up going on there. Not only did she go on, she became the chairperson. That's a big deal. She's also a Black woman, which sort of cancels out the upper edge has with Black women because now you're running against another Black woman. She also happens to be a Republican, which means that she is going to pull from a voter pool that Val can't touch. But because she's a Black woman, she will also be able to pull from the Democrat voter pool, which means she's got a bigger pool to swim in. So Val's got a fight on her hands.
Now, you also got to consider in our community that the unaffiliated voters are very strong in our community. And the concern that I, as a Democrat, have is that is with the card carrying Democrats. And there's a lot of card carrying Democrats that during the November election, do not vote a straight Democrat ticket. They normally zigzag across the ballot. So
Right,
so that's very interesting. That's not only here in Cumberland County now, but it's across the state when
right.
it comes down to the uh, November election. So the concern, Teach, that I have is that we are a county somewhere hovering around 318,000 plus,
Right.
but I don't know why I don't know why of the 100 counties in the state of North Carolina, individuals think that Cumberland County does not have the academic capability
Of
of
picking their
selecting
own
a
electorate.
candidate of their choice. And I'm using what my Democrat Party say when they look at the redistricting map to
Oh, for sure.
select the candidate of their choice. What has happened in our community. It happened once with me when someone from the executive branch came to Fayetteville and went to four churches and said, "I want you all to talk with a particular representative." And
Yeah, the
then
governor came down here and told them churches, y'all need to get Floyd together.
so 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 that was one, and then and that was because of the $132 million. Then Kurt followed me with $412 million, and got some of the things that had I returned that year that was already made commitment.
Right.
Then Kurt was ousted by someone in the executive branch because we can't think. Now here it is again, is that we are not capable. So let me tell you who I want you to select to send the Raleigh. And then we have a halftime. So there's 3.5 times that individuals have came to our community and tell us that we don't have the intellectual capability to select the candidate of our choice. We
Of your
want to
choice.
tell you, and that's amazing. And I just hope this time that our voters become aware of this and understand and say, hey, we have the intellectual capability to 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 make these changes, on our own
Right.
and select our
Right.
candidate on our
You know,
own.
I was talking to a former elected official, Mr. Floyd, and she said something. I'm gonna say who it was. I was talking to Shaquila Ingram, and she said to me, she said, Tisha, why won't they just let the democratic process play out? And I said, oh, that's a good question. But then I
Mm.
told her, I said, we're just coming into this revelation because this has been happening. Floyd, it's been happening. We have been being manipulated politically, and we've been led to believe that these are our choices. But it's not. You don't have a choice when somebody goes. A choice is go on democratic choice. It's not a choice when you go in the store. One, look at row shelf 3, and then look at these two items and decide which one of these two items you want. You've really taken the choice out of it for me because you have really made the decision. You've decided
Well,
coffee today instead of juice.
well, see, that's the problem that we have here in Cumberland County, and that's why when we look at other counties and what those representatives bring back to their district, it's totally different. Now, when that request was made, Tish, and if you notice that what Hawkins said, that it has an effect on 6 VTDs. So that
Mm-hmm.
means that there was going to be a shift of 6 precincts in
Right.
order to accommodate this change. So those people that saw the map on October the 18th, only to find out 3 days later, that they was no longer in the precinct that they saw. And it also surprised a representative
Yeah, I
there.
was getting ready to say Frances Jackson got the short end of the stick on this one because I think that she got stuff pulled out of her district and didn't even realize it. And so I
Yeah.
want to say, and listen, sis, I see you and I recognize and I understand. And I want to say this to you. You are coming into the knowledge of the fact that they play games and they don't include us in the game pieces while they're playing the game. And they have to protect our pieces. Other people can't play using us as pawns. And Mr. Floyd, that is for the community at large. You need pieces so that these politicians cannot continue to play using you as pawns. I want to go back to the dialogue about District 42, though, because I think that there's a hack in this. This is a model district for the conversation of political control, okay? So we see a seated representative who has been seated for what, like 20 plus years, 21 years? They've been in this district, rooted, ingrained, like deep. And okay, I'm gonna decide who's. in for you guys now. I'm gonna pick who my is more like a this is more like an aristocracy. Like, I get to pick my successor. I get to knight my son. We see now he is selected Mike Colvin, who I told somebody this the other day. I said, this is going to be interesting because the average person does not know that Mike and Mitch are brothers. So I would have thought, because of the controversy that follows Mitch, that he would have kept his distance, do his thing. Oh, but no. Oh, but no. At the inauguration, Colvin do.
Well, he had that. Let's be look at the fact. He had the podium. So by
Absolutely.
virtue of having the podium, that gives him that special privilege, in which
Absolutely.
you can't blame the person, uh, for doing that. I have the mic, I have special privilege, so let
But
me
what
do
did
this.
he do, Floyd? What did he use the special privilege to do?
Well, he just made suggestions that his brother will be running for a public office.
Did he bring his brother on stage?
I think his brother was behind him.
Did he acknowledge that he was going to help his brother to get elected or attempt to help his brother to get elected?
I think that he just announced it.
Okay, so here's the thing. So now we have the connection that's verified publicly. They are brothers. Okay, boom, fast forward. Let's talk money, Floyd, because a race requires money. Dr. Aziz hails from the like the Indian, the and when I say Indian, I mean like not Native American Indian.
Mhm.
Okay. She hails from that community. I think that is a very that community has deep pockets in this area. So when we talk about raising money, and they tend to be supportive of one another. So we're talking doctors, we're talking real estate developers, um, we're just talking people with deep pockets. Okay, so to raise money is not going to be that difficult for her. Now let's talk Mike Colvin. Is it going to be hard for him to raise money, Floyd?
Well, his brother, I think, when we looked at the paper, raised 170 some $1,000, but in that it was about 60 some $1,000 that his brother put in his campaign. So there's accessibility to funds there also. But as you mentioned, there may be four candidates that's filing, but under state statute, one candidate must prevail 30+%.
Right. So
And,
let's dig into that. Let's dig into that. So, but first, let's touch on this money, Mr. Floyd. I know you always say that you don't have any money, but what is one of the what's one of the first things that an elected official should know, or that a person seeking to become an elected official should know about their campaign finances? They ought to be able to do what at the beginning of their campaign?
well, you must be able to put your own money, some of
You
your
got to put
family
something
money,
up.
into the process, because what you are looking at, Chief, there is a of these candidates that will sort of run. I call it a CIA campaign. Have about 90 to 100 days to put this together, and so it's hard to start on December 4th, going forward to somewhere around March. I'm sorry, February, with a primary March the 5th, is to put all these pieces together.
Together. Hmm.
So that therefore you must be able to put in some of your own money, and
Absolutely.
not $1,000 now. $2,000. You must be able to, as the mayor said, he put in $63,000
A
in
salary.
his
You need
own.
to be able to put a salary into your account.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We did not mention the Republican candidate who has filed for House District 42. I don't even remember his name. I'll look it up and I'll bring it up another time.
It's
But the
Bryant.
reason that's say again.
His last name was Bryant.
Thank you. But the reason that he's really not a part of this conversation is because this district is not drawn for a Republican to win. So he's in there. He'll make it to the to the final election, the general election, but probably will not be successful just by nature of the way that the district is. Back up. So, Mr. Floyd, you are prepared to take some of your mad money and put it into your account. Courtney will need to be prepared to do the same thing. And then after that, it's going to be a matter of seeing who can fundraise. Let me tell you why that's important. I was talking to somebody who is responsible for vetting candidates and then issuing endorsements. Okay. This individual said, we don't even go up to that level because, see, it's different between running at a local level and at a state level. Chris, quick when he decided he was going to jump from city council to the House of Representatives and got mollywopped and sent right on over to PWC. So the reality is you have to be able to fundraise because you have to be able to get your message out to a broader number of people. You can knock, but you might not be able to knock all those doors given the time permitted. So here we are, Floyd. Where's the money going to go? The money's going to go to Mike Colvin. The will probably go to Mike Colvin because he is the party pick. Let's just be real. Marvin Lucas is with him. The mayor of the city of Fayetteville is with him. The governor is probably going to stand with him because he's the party pick. He's their guy. Courtney is going to have to fundraise, and she community. She Delta, maybe they'll come out in full throttle and just put those dollars in her account. I don't know. I'm not Greek. I don't know how that works. You're Greek. Does your brother up your coffers?
Well, we would love to get support from anywhere.
Okay. Fill up his coffers, brotherhood. Fill those coffers up. Fill up her coffers, sisterhood. Fill her coffers up. But here's the thing. So she's gonna have to fundraise. Aziz comes with a built-in bank account. She's got her own money, and then she's gonna have to do some fundraising. But she's pulling from a different. She's drawing from a different well than the three of you. The three of you are all drawing from the same well. Black Democrats. Courtney has the advantage because she's a Black female, but Aziz is pulling from a whole different well. So her well is not going to dry out as fast as y'all's because y'all got three people dipping. She's got one. So talking about money, but again, that's the money part. So to me, Mike Colvin has the advantage financially. I think reputationally, Mr. Floyd, it does something when people understand what Marvin Lucas did. It does something to Mike's reputation because when people realize that Marvin Lucas gerrymandered this district just for Mike, it damages Mike's reputation. And it's a bad look.
Well, Tish, when you have to be present to serve, he was present to serve, and so by being present to serve, you can do these kinds of things. So that's just it's just politics. But
I don't like talking to candidate Floyd. I want the other Mr. Floyd to come back. I want the Mr. Floyd that says you right. Okay, but here's the other thing. Courtney stood up on that stage during her inauguration, discussed her bid for House District 42, and said she'd just be right down the road. That was what got back to me. Is that accurate?
Again, Tish, you have the mic, and you have.
Floyd, was that the right time and place?
I don't think that you were being sworn in for office, and at the same time telling your peers that you were seeking another office. That this is just a stop, as I prepare for the other office. But then again, people do different things at different times, and she had the mic and she had the audience that was present. Yeah. So
So more power to her.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Floyd, how do you feel? Go ahead, finish that, and then I'll ask you.
The key thing of it is that I've always said to my constituents, I'm prime time. I will deliver if you order a package. I will make sure that it arrive on time.
Yeah,
Not to
Amazon
just talk.
Prime.
Yeah,
Say next day delivery.
that's what that's what it's going to take. And it's going to take any candidate, whichever candidate, to be able to walk across the aisle and negotiate for the betterment of your community. And you
Yeah,
have to look at it whether or not to see whether or not the the candidates has that capability, whichever race he or she runs in, you know, that but you have to be present. You just can't run for office and think that you can, run for office and then stay home and then deliver back to your community. You have to be
right.
present to serve. And
Yeah,
then again,
I'm.
see, look,
You go ahead.
you know, that there are also people that are being talked to in our community to run for very office, you know. But I said to a person the other day, is that why would you interact and go to a person to a restaurant and he or she invite you, and then once you exit, they ask you to pay for the bill? Now, does it make any sense? You was invited. You was invited out to lunch.
Because my thing would be y'all set up my campaign account and put $50,000 in it, and I'll run. Y'all go out and fundraise for me, put
Well,
$50,000 in the account, and I'll run. Because other than that, I'm not doing it.
well, a lot
I'm
of
not doing
times,
it, period. Let me just say that I'm not, I don't ever want to give the impression I'm gonna run for office. I'm not doing it, period, Floyd. Go ahead.
now a lot of times, it's because of the pomp and circumstance that we
Hmm.
see that is offered to us. But you got to read all of that. Can you reach these goals? Can you reach these goals by March, by the middle of February, when you're gonna have to have a team in place? And
Yeah.
then too, at the same time now, who, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, who is going to help you do this financial report that has to be done? Who's going to help you write that fundraising letter? Who is Now the unique thing about it is how are you going to get these? I'm gonna repeat now, volunteers to help you to do the door-to-door canvas, the volunteers to work at least 5 to 8 polls that may be in your district with that early voting, and then to cover each one of those polls in your precinct and your district on the election day. So it's not an easy task. But one thing I can give you credit for, T, I'm sorry, not you, but I give people credit for, they will promise you.
Hmm.
They will promise you that they'll be at the poll working for you.
And then on election day, you can't find them.
You
Can't
can't
get them
find
to answer the phone. Yeah.
you
I want
can't
to
find
say this. I think that for House District 42, it's anybody's race. I think that you
yeah.
guys are going to have to most certainly bring your A game, because the three of y'all are going to split the black vote. You are going to appeal to a certain demographic. Mike is going to appeal to a certain demographic, and Courtney is going to appeal to a certain demographic. And that may just make it possible for Dr. Aziz to get that 30% margin and walk right on in. It remains to be seen. So I think that at this point it is anybody's race. I think that my hope is that you all will run a clean campaign, because we get sick of the bashing. I don't want to see any of those flyers that they tried to put out on you. I don't want to see any of that. Let Mike
What's
run on
this,
his own strength. Hmm.
what's this, that there is another flyer that's out there. Was I'm summarizing it now. It was Kurt, Charles, and someone else, and it was asking who would you vote for. So there's all sorts of gimmicks out there. To because it's see, the executive branch has Morgan Jackson, which do a lot of unique things for the Democrat Party
Hmm.
there. So there's always these kinds of distraction that's there. And what they do teach, they can send some of the beautiful flyers you ever seen. you know, some beautiful, you know, yeah, I mean, the flyers look like water running uphill.
Yeah.
Okay. But it enticed the voters to believe that water is running uphill.
Running uphill. Yeah.
But until
Yeah.
you actually see the product, and that's the thing, but when the maps, going back to when the maps were first drawn, I was in House District 44.
Correct.
44. Now that
You went from
in
43 to 44
44,
to
and then
42.
44 saw that against, I may be running in 44. So 44 had an opportunity to assist Zach in redrawing the map, which Zach said that it has an effect on 6 VTD, and that's voter tabulation districts.
Mm-hmm.
Has an effect. So when that request was made, going back to what we said earlier, it affected 6 precincts
I
in
don't want to
Cumberland.
hear nobody from the Democrat Party whining about gerrymandering. I'm gonna need y'all to shut up about it. Don't say nothing else about it because your party does it too. I'm gonna need you to go sit down and suck your thumb in the corner if you get mad about the fact that the Republicans have gerrymandered because you do it and it's just as destructive to the general population as when they do it. Y'all all play the same game and y'all all play it hoping that it's going to give you the advantage and give you what you want, and you really not concerned about how we the voters feel in this process. Because if you were, y'all would stop playing all these games. This
Well,
is
Tifa,
protect your pieces, people.
well, what we want to do is to have the people the vote the candidate of their choice. That's what my party say when they look at redistricting. But when it comes down to their redistricting, it's another thought. They always say is that the minority community, by virtue of this map drawing, does not have the opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice. But they do the same thing. They do the same thing.
And at
So
this point, that's why I said go sit in the corner and suck your thumb if you don't like it, because it is what it is. Stop with all of these frivolous lawsuits about the fact that this person did this and whining and throwing tantrums. Listen, when you're in charge of the House or the Senate, you do what you do. And when
but
they're in charge of the House or the Senate,
but
they do what they do.
but we must keep certain things ongoing that keep us falling behind certain ideologies
To
and
keep
certain.
people divided, to
I
keep
give
people
you
bickering and arguing.
I give you that I do not like voter ID. I do not like it.
I
I
love
hate it.
it. I
Okay,
love
I hate it. But
it.
but but the fact of it is, we make it a campaign issue that it has an adverse effect on certain populations. Well, let me say this to you, Teeth, and you can check this out. In North Carolina, there's 7.7 million North Carolinians have driver license. Now, I
Mhm.
want you to show me one driver license that does not have an ID on it. Okay, that's
Right,
one. And
right.
you have 1.4 million people receiving some form of subsidies. And then you have
You
a
gotta show your
population
ID.
of 10.5
Uh-huh.
million people. But they put us on an issue, but they don't say, let's go and get this ID so we can beat the other person at his or her game. You're talking about 9 million people out of 10.5. But you must keep my community aroused up about certain things. To
Something
keep them
about something.
angry.
And
I
that's
don't
the control.
I
That's
don't
the
like
control.
ID. I don't
Yeah.
like it. But since, you know, if you're gonna register them, make sure that once you register them, the first thing that you ask them, or second thing, do you have some form of ID? This is where you can get ID from because it's gonna be required at the polls whether you like it or not. Now
Yeah.
we had a choice as Democrats to vote down the ID. We had that choice, but you know what? We didn't turn out.
And I'm gonna say this, Mr. Floyd, and I said this earlier to somebody. To me, and I don't know what it is about. Yes, I do. There's that saying: "Power corrupts absolutely, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." I think that when we get a little piece of what we perceive to be power, we do some dumb stuff. And I believe that really, when you look at the community and you look at the people that we elect to represent us, they do not demonstrate that they have our best interest in mind. And I always go back to, when we look at Cumberland County had the blackest leadership for the longest time. For at least 3 or 4 or more terms, we had a majority black county commissioners, majority black city council, all the black judges, and still we are having the same conversations. And it flows into what you were talking about driving while black. You got all these black issues, then you got black leadership, and you don't have any black solutions. So what is the problem?
Well, Tish, you know, I watched the last election, and last campaign, and it was just amazing to me, based upon the statistics that's out there, with
Hmm.
the number of African American male being stopped. Okay, and no one took it up. Well, let me say the issue wasn't brought up. Okay, but when I read the article, and, and I had been saying it, it's a relationship or a conversation that's got to happen with the city council. That as a community, we need to see some changes. It got to start also with the city manager, and the community got to inform the council and manager what their expectation is as it relates to these traffic stops. Although now, when you are stopped, the police officer has a whole bunch of discretion, a whole bunch of discretion. And when you look at poor neighborhoods, you know, it's an idea, and it is prone to help the because traffic fine goes to education. You know, it really helps those who in education, because that's where the fine goes. I repeat it. But just to see the number of traffic stops, that are made. I'm not saying that they don't need to be made, but they're higher each time, each year. Now, this is the book, Tish, from 2010, with the traffic stops. Okay. And we look again 13 years later, we at the same crossroad. And it got to be a conversation, with the city manager who hires the chief of police. It got to be one with the city council as part of their long range goals and objectives. And it got to be a conversation with the community about how can we address these changes. And again, you know, as an African American male, I'm scared to drive at night. I am literally scared to drive home at night. So, it's that fear that I have. And like the chief say, you know, you don't know who that person is until you stop him. Okay. And I don't want to be that person that I don't know who they know that who I am as a black male. I just prefer just to stay away from certain things. And certain things that you got a program that's going to end after 10 o'clock at night, you know, that's one that you might see me walk towards the door by 9:30. And 12 o'clock at night is a no-no. Okay.
I'm
It
not
is
scared.
a
I'm
no-no.
more concerned about these knuckleheads that want to, proliferate all of this crime after dark than I am about the police. But that's just me. So I'm with you when it comes to I'm gonna be on inside and y'all can be out there, but not because I'm worried about the police stopping me, but because it's a lot of trouble out them streets. Like we have a very high crime rate,
What
a
I
very high
agree, Chief, you got crime, but you got crime at midnight. I'm just using that as an example. And then again, you got the traffic stop you're worrying about. And then again, as an African American, we too must realize you can ride by some cars, Tish. You are the third car, okay, and you
Mm-hmm.
can smell it. So that's what you
Oh, for
call
sure.
reasonable cause.
But
Reasonable
they ain't
cause. Because
stopping. But that's but are they stopping them?
I'm saying, but it gives the officer reasonable cause because you can smell it. And once
Mm,
they assume reasonable cause, then if it's 12 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning between you and I, and you ask me, can I search your car? You and I on the highway at 2 o'clock in the morning, search it. Okay. Because you won't say that, call two or three cars and say that this person refused to have his or her car searched. Search it.
right.
2 o'clock in the morning. And the way it is, you think they're gonna believe me, or you think they're gonna believe him?
Hmm.
So they're gonna believe the officer. So I'm just saying to you, there's certain times. Now, say this again. Now, if I'm invited to a program, I'm leaving the door at 9:30, so I can
Yeah.
get home by 10. And 12 o'clock, I don't think I can make that with
Yeah.
you. Okay.
So, congratulations to I'm with you. I understand. Congratulations uh, to Commissioner Glenn Adams for being elected again as the chairperson of the Cumberland County Commissioners. Congratulations to Tony Stewart for being elected as the co-chair. Um,
But don't forget now what one said is that the
and they
Democrats
ain't
in
never gonna let
Georgia.
Repu-
So when you look on the other side of that at the state, the Democrats is complaining about the way the gerrymander is going, that they can't really grapple into power at the same time. They're stripping the governor of his power. So you know uh, you know what was said is that as two Republicans, it's not likely that one will serve as chair.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, but you can grow working together.
yeah. Well, what you want to leave our audience with, Mr. Floyd?
Just look at all of the candidates, whichever race that he or she be running in, and you are going to vote. Look at the candidate, not the glossy flyers that they send out. And please don't let people tell you who they want to represent them. Now remember now, them meaning him or her, not the community as a whole.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just say, y'all, this a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. And that's it. So that's Mr. Floyd. That's the gritty in the city and the word on the curb. And at the end of the day, I applaud you for still being willing to throw your name in the ring, and to throw your hat in the ring and to see, how our community responds to the truth of what you are telling them. And I applaud all of the other candidates who have thrown their hat in the ring. We are going to have next week George Brees come on. George Brees is a political correspondent who is very well versed in how all of this has played out over decades. You have agreed to sit out that part of the conversation
Yes,
because we do
yes.
not want to have any. We George is not coming on to endorse anybody. He's not coming on. He is just coming on to talk to the community about the filing and what it all means for us. So make sure that you tune in. We're going to early record that because he's got some other things he wants to get done, but we want to make sure that we get him in here. So Lloyd,
Well, Tish, I just want to say, and just to show people about the partiality, I don't want to be, you know, in that part of that interview because people would think that I'm playing an unfair game. So
Absolutely.
I prefer not to even participate in that portion of it
Absolutely.
whatsoever.
And I'm gonna talk about all of y'all. And this the thing, Floyd. I appreciate and respect the fact that you said that because you are a part of this election, you're not going to say anything negative about anybody. I respect that. But I'm gonna talk about all of y'all. If I see something, I'm gonna say something. So don't think that just because Floyd is running, you get a pass. Because we're gonna talk about this stuff. And he might just sit there and look very distinguished while I say what I gotta say.
But
But at the end of the day, like Mr. Floyd told me yesterday, this is our platform, and we paid the cost to be the boss on this platform. And so I'm gonna put out what I believe I need to put out because I think that our community needs to know what's really on the table so that they can do what they got to do. Now, at the end of the day, y'all have disappointed me so many times, city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County, when it comes to who you keep putting in these seats. So I don't have a great expectation that our community is going to do the right thing because I think we tend to be razzled and dazzled. I think we get mystified by the mysterious mystique of whatever it is they throw at us, and we don't pay attention to the writing on the wall. We forget that there's a puppet master who's puppeteering a lot of these candidates and is controlling this so that they can get the outcome they want, and they've said it on WIDU, and we forget about that. They tell us what they're going to do and we forget about that. So I don't have a great deal of confidence in this community to make the right decision in terms of protecting our people, our resources, and the process of politics. I think y'all are going to go along, get along, but I hope that you will prove me wrong. And
I
that's the
hope so
gritty in the
too.
city. I hope they'll prove me wrong. That's the gritty in the city and the word on the curb. And we will catch you next week with George Brees as we discuss what the final filing status looks like and what we should expect to see in this playing field. Floyd,
And we will talk about it afterwards.
yes, we will.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right,
All
y'all.
right.
Enjoy your
Thank you.
day.